Lion of the Savannah Perspective. Be the Lion by Zioniah and Nico Lion. Shamari Hankins. While at rest, the lion can appear to be simple and potentially finite. However, when he awakens, he appears potentially infinite in his capabilities, and his inner strength is unmatched. By Nico Lion. Chapter 1. Why is the lion at slumber? We all have the lion in us. Whether it has been stirred up and awakened is another matter to behold. Many people view lions as savages, full of pride, cute creatures. And yet, many lions are poached and attacked, ganged up on, whilst to another a lion is bold, intelligent, crafty, resilient, full of integrity, which appears as pride, strong, having a sense of dominance among whatever it crosses. The way many lions are taken down by other creatures is through its arrogance, being unprepared, or being outnumbered, rarely outmatched. Life is a lot like what goes on in the savannah and the African habitation of its many creatures and its ecosystem. We humans are just more civilized. Well, I'm here to help you awaken your lion in all aspects of your life. I'm here to awaken your drive and your inner power and your wit, and open your mind to the lion perspective that I have. In the wild, the lion has to have a certain perspective on its domain and also its capabilities. It knows it can likely take down the Cape buffalo on its own, and yet the elephant is another matter. The lion knows its strengths and also where it is weak. It has to sometimes utilize its predatory sneaking ability to surprise its enemy and prey. Use its amazing agility to leap down from tree branches while out of its enemy's view, catching them off guard. Other times he may just stand face to face with his enemy and gather his strength and fight. The lion lets his enemies know he is near or far with his mighty roar, informing them he is not beaten, warning them to beware of his presence, territorially planting his feet by his voice. In life, we often need to act as the lion does. When life throws us storms, and believe me, it will, we plant our claws rooted in resilience. When life is the enemy in front of you, bigger than you, we stand firm and we analyze our enemy, seeing where it is weakest and how we must deliver the deadly bite. When life is puzzling us and leaving us feeling like we do not know where to strike, we perch in a tree, waiting for the darkness to fall, or when it is noonday, aligning our opportunity to snap our jaws at life, catching it off guard as it often does us. If we live life letting it always attack us, not learning from previous bouts and from previous losses, standoffs with enemies more in number than ourselves, not understanding our disadvantages from our advantages and our weak points from our strong points, we will fall harder each time. And one day we may not get back up. Therefore, be the lion today and root yourself in resiliency, not being shaken by anything as much as the lion within you can bear. Roar back at life and let it know you're not to be trampled over. Get up and show your fangs. There is a way that is right to the weak, and there is also a way that is right to the strong. We all should awaken ourselves to be strong as the lion is. We shouldn't let ourselves fall prey to the evils of life and the injustices, manipulations, and enemies bigger and perhaps mightier than ourselves if there is anything we can do about it. Most creatures of the wild are fearful to approach, let alone challenge, the lion by themselves. Its enemies will often come in numbers or be larger than the lion to intimidate him if it were possible, or to outsize him. These enemies know the lion is bold, brave, and powerfully adamant and won't back down from 99% of fights if there is anything he can do about it. So they slash him in tactical and strategical ways to slow him and weaken him, to throw off his inner power. Hyenas have a habit of doing this, where they will surround the lion and hoping to cower him, strategically biting at him from all sides until he is broken and collapses. The smart lion would run away and come back attacking these hyenas one by one, picking them off with ferocious maws. He would make it so he is not surrounded. The foolish lion, however, will sit surrounded, and because of his pride, he will continue to fight in this disadvantaged state. Is your life surrounded by its enemies? Is your pride keeping you from running away and regrouping your strength, inner power, and strategy to fight back your many enemies? Life can do this, where because it knows you're a lion, it fights at you, tearing and slashing from all directions until you collapse or die. Life can be this unforgiving enemy, larger than us all, but the beast inside is larger than it. Life knows that if it wearies the beast, it can kill it before its potential is released and awakened to be feared and respected. There comes a time in every person's life where they have to decide, wasn't I born for more? They answer this question with a yes or no. The truth is, have you asked this question? I know I have. I definitely was born for more, and so were you. Every lion, when it's born, knows it was born to succeed the leader lion of the pack or the pride, and to succeed in protecting all the lions and lionesses in the pack. He doesn't cower and whimper at his destiny. He challenges it head on. Some lions do better than others, but you see, they have two things that comes to mind that they share in common: strength and determination. These two traits are inherited in a lion's DNA. They're also in yours. The circle of life in the wild is not so different from modern living in society. It is survival in a very realistic way. In the same manner, although not as graphic always, each one of us must arm ourselves with the lion perspective that is already in us. I'll explain what that is soon. When we look at our lives, much of the time we see just our local environment, our problems that are direct to us, and our views can be strongly limited as if our eyes are only looking at the ground before us. Our eyes need to be perpetually scanning the horizon, glaring at our enemies and our competition, reading the movements of life itself, watching and analyzing, recording information more than it is we speak it. Though a lion cannot talk in our language, though they are quiet most of the time, as most animals are, they very much do these things I have mentioned. They scan their environments, improving their understanding of survival in their ecosystem, and how best they can prepare themselves for their next challenge. Whether it be days of starvation because they have not captured a meal and killed it, splitting the feast with the pack, or whether it is because of an injury after a tough battle with an enemy. You see the things I point out about understanding not only the lion, but many animals of nature like him, are very common traits of survival and ecosystemic adaptation. Many people never really grasp these fundamental traits within themselves, and they remain a vulnerable prey or weak person physically and mentally and spiritually for their entire lives. Why suffer the beast inside to slumber when he is at attention in an erected stance to fight back against the enemies in your life? In this book, you will learn a lot of things and understand a way of seeing life that many do not. And it is probably why they have not climbed the heights they are seeking to go. Learning also many things entrepreneurial and many life techniques and business sustainment and survival knowledge. This book does not only apply to money, business, and many of the things necessary for you to sink your claws into your life and bid it to do your will, but this will help you survive better with the things I show you. This book is for many people, whether you are wealthy, stricken by poverty, just surviving, fair off, just got out of jail or prison, a thug person accustomed to gang life or street life and want a way out through business, teenagers who aren't so sure about the traditional pathways mom and dad or society laid out before you, what you have heard from the news and knowledge gurus of our lifetimes. Whatever your case may be, this book is for any and everyone who desires a certain life change and personal growth of many different facets. I've written this for myself and for many people out there with the lion in them, or for everyone out there with the lion in them, as I myself am the lion, and this is my perspective. In my honest opinion, God created us to have this lion tenacity intrinsically within ourselves. He didn't create us to be weaklings and easily manipulated. It's time we stand back up. It's time we take back our destinies. It's time we yell with our loudest roars, and may the universe hear us. It's time we glare at our enemies in our life, whatever they are, fiercely, with strength and determination, and fight for our cause. I am going to keep it pretty real in this book, and I'm not sugarcoating anything, because life won't hand you a bowl of Fruity Loops and say, go and get the sugar. No, life will not make anything sweet. When life is salty, we need to pour some water on it. First off, I'm going to talk about the way things are in our society. If you are not from where I am, these statements will still apply to you because they are general. Have you ever used a phone like you are on right now, or a computer, and saw that it only allowed and limited the scope, or in other words, the reach of what you could do on or in it? I'm sure you have asked yourself, man, if only this phone or this computer would allow or let me do more. Things I imagine about doing, but it is like the parameters of the system permissions is a barrier to me. Our society, no matter where you live, is like an operating system. Phones and computers, laptops and desktops have these governments called operating systems, controlling the limits and scope of what the device can do. Our society is much like this, except we are not technology. We are beings. Society tends to control, in a very serious and real way, nearly all that we are able to do or are allowed to do. Now, control on its own isn't bad, but when it is limiting your potential, when the Sahara is limiting the lion, he broadens his options. When he can't find his meal, he will travel 10 extra miles. Have you ever wanted to do more, or saw that you had far more potential than society gives you credit for? Have you ever felt like the operating system you live in holds you back from yourself and your true potential, and you want a way out? The truth is, not everyone is meant to follow the operating system as it is written. There are some of us who find ways around the system and sort of, I might say, create our own. We attempt to create a system that works within a system, much like how the apps that work within a computer are a smaller system of many components, working in a larger system with more components. Would you like to do this? Many of these same questions I had to truly ask myself because I felt tied up in a system that was fighting against my potential with its setup. End of chapter 1. Lion of the Savannah Perspective. Chapter 2. Looking to the sky, we notice there are no limits. When you look to your potential ceiling, know therefore there exist no limits. Nico Lion. The Mindset Bend. You have heard, thou shalt get a job, and thou shalt go to college so you can get a good career. Thou shalt serve your master as unto God, and masters treat your servants with respect because you both have your same master in heaven. But I say to you, many employers who are masters indeed do not respect and treat their employees who are servants as they ought. God would be ashamed of them. If God were on earth right now, he would look at many of the employers and question them to their face of their conduct, which is unjust and without mercy, but rather filled with greed and selfishness and the lack of empathy. Now, it is not to say or condemn employers. The economy needs jobs and people to do them. Without many specific jobs, the economy could not function. Many employers pay a wage to most that isn't livable, nor is it survivable. There are a few jobs in different fields out there, where someone can survive and make an honest, humble living, however, but this is the select few. While a percentage of the population is barely feeding themselves, not positive on spending and earnings ratios, or are not even able to provide a roof over their heads, a den to their cubs and themselves. Now, I don't have to tell you something is extremely wrong here. This is a plague in many societies all over the world. People are indoctrinated from birth to believe that most employers mean them well. That, hey, that company won't fire me if I work hard and show up on time and provide great service to the employer. Hey, I can work at this one job all my life and it will all work out perfectly. Hey, my degree is worth everything. They simply cannot turn me down. Hey, as long as I'm college educated and pay $70,000, I'm guaranteed job security. Unless a knowledge parent or role model tells them the truth that their mindset needs to be set on their value and that they are a business, not ever an employee, then this is the mindset that people will have. A huge problem is that you cannot force a company to hire you and pay a livable, even a thrivable wage, and you cannot force them to keep you either. And if this recurs, if it happens again and again, you will be in a huge bind, even a detrimental situation. However, you can psychologically reason with people and companies to buy from you and do business with you. Which one sounds like a better end goal? Most people are trained to believe what mainstream society believes, which is that the only way to success and survival is through a job. Now, while a job may be beneficial for its own reasons, like maybe it pays you enough to live, if so, then great. A lot of people, however, don't have this opportunity, like using the job the same way many of them use you, for leverage. By no means must they become a means to an end. I don't care where you work. The Lion Perspective says you must change and innovate your mindset. Most employers are like a big tree waiting to deliver the axe to its branches that aren't producing the necessary buds at the harvest time. Most workers work jobs where they subconsciously feel an ever-present hammer ready to slam termination on them. And most workers work for companies and not with them. They will literally fire thousands and thousands of people and toss the salt over their shoulder, capitalizing on their investments, neglecting that these same branches have word of mouth and will tell the evil of doing such things to its servants or employees. And not to mention, these servants and workers are what help build these companies to what they become. And very much the same way, when a seedling is planted, it needs water and sunlight to grow. Nature is nurturing, and then it also needs pruning to maintain its delicacy, efficiency, and aesthetic image and purpose. Most of these companies and corporations would not be where they are without their servants, their helpers. But like many things and people in life, they get puffed up, expanded as a balloon with pride. And also, they sell out to shareholders and please them by any means, instead of being loyal to the branches that help make the tree. Surprised? I know. I was too, when I learned this is how it often is. Until things change. Instead of a healthy conscience, they sear it when they fire 100,000 people and see them as lost numbers and data, like employee number 62. Most of them don't even really care to know your name or know who you are. Trust me. This is why guys like me are your friend. And even when I am largely successful, I won't forget you. Everything that I'm explaining, I've been through, and it's reported in many studies that around the world, all the things that I speak of happen to many, many people from many places. Many employers forget they were once the little guy. These same employers hire people who are so anxious to get a raise or promotion, they do whatever wicked things their employer tells them to do, like skipping over a great candidate for a job because of bias, hiring autonomous technology called algorithms, which are just precise instructions that they give to a computer, which were programmed by biased individuals, or because the hiring guy says talk to only these kinds of people that fit our culture. These cultures are usually weird, fraudulent, and companies rarely make it known what their culture even is. So you're left to guess and try to fit the bill and fit in. Cultures are cool, but since when did they become a major hiring aspect? Is this high school? People can learn culture. Lately, in the year 2000 and beyond, not being a right fit has become a standard rejection letter. And also, who's to say these same jobs many of us have put our trust in won't give us the pink slip, which is termination? Or, though we don't need you anymore, but you did need me at one point though, right? Suddenly, these things happen every day. Did you know that 98% of corporations include in their policies of hire, when you fill out your applications, that they can let people go at will for virtually any reason? And these are the jobs we put our trust in. Seriously? Now, many people don't really get what this means, although it's boldly clear. This means that if they simply feel like you aren't doing well, even though you are, you can lose your job, simultaneously losing your income, or because the big guys from corporate send out a kingly decree to fire you, and 10,000 others like you, the managers and recruiters will see to it that it is done, regardless of who it affects and how many. Then those people affected have to just figure it out. This is why I empathize. This is why I emphasize never to put all your trust in any employer. There are a tiny few who you can put some trust in, but this is the outlier and is rare. Put your trust in yourself and God. If an employer shows genuine loyalty, this rule can be loosened. Now, if you're like me, I don't like being betrayed. But put your trust in 98% of the employers out there, and the chances for it are brisk. This isn't a negative outlook. It's a preparation and reality slap in your face to help you wake up and smell the marijuana in your noses. Don't fall asleep in false securities from employers with fake smiles. Now, the point in statement: the shift from the employee mindset to the value mindset. You are a business from the time you're born to the end of days. We were created with value inbred in us, which is what we may call talents, skills that we are just naturally good at, and a talent that everyone has, which is to become good at things they were not. We learn, we adapt, we adjust to the savannah where we are. But many of us fall asleep and turn off these inner traits that are bred within us that help and enable us to survive and even thrive. The securities of a job can lullaby a human to sleep, tuning off their sensory traits to prepare themselves for unexpected and unfortunate outcomes. These securities can give you the impression that a job can be your sugar daddy. I'm here to awaken the lion in you, to spark that survival instinct and also that value inside of you that you were born with. I sense and predict an entrepreneurial revolution is at hand. There will still be jobs, but more entrepreneurs than ever. We are living in the digital revolution now, much in the same way the Industrial Revolution shook things up with the advent of modern machinery. Technology is the modern machinery that is shaking things up again and opening more doors than ever. You don't have to become a computer scientist, but you do need to get on board and understand what is at your fingertips. If you don't grab your piece of the pie now, it will be harder later on when technology eclipses and its potential, and you will have too much to learn. It won't be impossible, it will just be harder. What was not possible before the World Wide Web is now possible by anybody. I call the World Wide Web the worldwide market. More on this in later chapters. That is what e-commerce is, a market. Now is the great time to get on board with digital creations and physical creations that you put online. The world is going towards mass entrepreneurship. That's the secret. Less big businesses, more small to medium-sized ones. I see the world going in the avenue of less of giant companies and more small to medium-sized business owners that simply engage in large-scale business. People, consumers, and even producers will have far more choice than they do now, often shopping from the same businesses all the time. The weighing scale of a few companies as major players in various industries will tip massively to that of many companies as major players in various industries. More potential millionaires and billionaires. I see the money being divided more. The more people realize what is possible. There shouldn't be billionaires possessing 100 billion or more. The fact is that not enough people are executing on their market shares and niches. Truthfully, there should be more multimillionaires and small to medium scale billionaires than anything else. Money should be circulating, not just a few people's bank accounts, such as the richest in the world. If more people adopted this mindset, it will shake up the industries. Not enough people are producing and executing what they produce well. The fact is, we now have the internet to help level out disparities. The dot-com boom, which was the onset of the internet, opened up various opportunities, broke down gated barriers, and on a diverse scale. A person living in a garage could be a five-star business if he executes well enough. I see the reliance solely on a job phasing, perhaps not entirely, but as much as an individual can until ultimately becoming their own successful business and they are their own asset. The truth is, when too many big businesses hold much of the torch to consumer attentions, needs, and wants, options become bland. Creativity and diversity is wounded. There are three main ways you can get around the system. They are two. One, provide services. Two, offer exceptional value. Or three, create products. I remember when I first experienced this mindset change back in 2018 to 2019, after I went through a number of tragic events and events happening around me, shocked my mind into the lion perspective. These many things and circumstances motivated me to write this book to help myself and also to help my audiences and people out there, like maybe what I will have been going through or will be going through. Whosoever you are, I love you as a fellow being. Perhaps, pertaining to my audience, they are not researchers and have not compiled massive amounts of data relative to real life in accordance with real-time experience. And they are just wishing, hoping someone will give them a clear understanding of a new and better way of thinking and seeing. Perhaps they have gone with the crowd thinking, well, just because that entrepreneur made it, I can't. He was lucky. Hey, since most people just get jobs and see their inner value for the sake of a paycheck, I should too. Hey, that guy is more fortunate than me, being born with elders who can provide a business, start a check, or a joint credit opportunity that I don't have. Hey, that guy and his siblings inherited money and have a head start. While many of these things may be true, it doesn't mean you're out of the good fight. Perhaps you're just that lion that started out a little behind the pack, and you have to fight your way through. However, did you see what I just said? You are still a lion, and lions don't give up. They fight and they prevail. Listen to me. Everything that you do from now on should be with the leverage into translated value mindset. That job you hate, leverage for your money, which you then translate into value builders for yourself and your business. You didn't come from a rich family background? Leverage. You can have more fight in you than the privileged lion does. You know a good fight and are more experienced than he is. Not being paid enough? Leverage. This will and ought to snap your instincts into a need to get creative and crafty mindset. This trains your mind to be a fighter, and your brain becomes a dynamic computer making calculations, and not to get comfortable with the standard paycheck. Just came out of a hard and crushing situation? Leverage. Use this opportunity to make some declarations and let it challenge you to be better than your old self, stronger, more resilient, possessing a diamond's toughness and a will to release your lion in everything that you do. Getting the point? Life will become your enemy, and each time it throws its tsunamis and arrows at you and thunderbolts, lick your wounds and roar back at your enemies. Leverage each moment for your benefit. What your enemies meant for harm, God is able to mean it for your good. People believe in karma and luck. Luck is nothing but probability, which is chance, which can be in your favor at times, and sometimes it may not. But the truth is, this universe can only be God, a supreme being who does things in life we don't understand. Sometimes he ordains life to be our enemy, maybe for our strengthening or growth or maturing. And God understands strength and mercy. He also understands sacrifice, empathy, compassion, and taking on others' shoes. If God the Almighty can humble himself even to the extent of dying on the cross for our sins, not his own, and rising from the dead back to life in order so that we can have eternal life and escape death, if we would believe he did this for us, then we should too humble ourselves and strengthen ourselves when we must. We could learn some things from God. The lion has to know to humble himself at times and retreat if necessary. This is not a subtraction of strength. It actually is the opposite. God can win every battle. but we cannot. Therefore, we must be resiliently intelligent, sacrificing our pride at times to return a stronger lion and win the battle another day. And much like God, I am putting myself in your shoes, whatever your life is like, and showing you a new perspective, inspiring you, motivating you, and teaching you practical things I wish someone would have told me. I wish someone would have shown me a book like The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, or Contagious, and this one you're reading, Lion of the Savannah Perspective. These books largely are very, very useful if you apply them. My book and those other 2 books can have you on the right path to unleashing your lion in your life. I shout out those 2 books because they have largely been an aid in my life, and hopefully you can look at those too. I want to set you up for the best results. Now, I am in agreement with the author of the first book I listed. This is not a cakewalk. It's not easy to just launch up and walk this path successfully. But with the lion perspective, and with the help of books like these and the ones I've shown, and God, of course, you shall be able. Your mindset bend will be the aiding factor in whether or not you will change your life for the long and short term that God has blessed you with. Now, stay with me as we go through this book together. I promise I'm writing this with the good intention of yours and my well-being. Let us make the enemies bend the knee to the lion perspective, which we'll be discussing soon. End of chapter 2. Lion of the Savannah Perspective. Be the lion. Chapter 3. Let us talk about it. The man that seeks knowledge will attain wisdom, as the lion scans the horizon and gains awareness. Nico Lion. A lot of people rarely talk about the things that shape our world and their environments, and often they just go along as sheep to the slaughter. Let us change into lions, understanding the perspective of the lion and the perspective of the everyday man and woman. Before we get into the more strategical thinking and technical ways of getting around the system you live in, let's keep it 100. Let's talk about the things that make us question, so we can have more in perspective here. Do you see yourself doing more from here and beyond? Do you know now that the value you hold is not determined by an employer or some primed up dick face sitting in a corporate building? You don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. If you are in a job situation, your right hand should be working on your business and your affairs. Working on your business can mean many things, like working on yourself for starters, or your skills and abilities. After reading this book, are you really going to sit back and legitimately let the world walk all over you? Are you not a lion? Would you really believe the lie that you're mediocre and are only good as the job market says you are? Don't you want to have an impact on the social well-being and economic well-being of our society, which becomes increasingly more bland as less people become entrepreneurs and creatives? Why is it that from a young age, most people are pipelined to aspire? Notice the word I said, aspire, to be a pencil in somebody else's sketchbook. Why is it that for many of us, our first role models, our parents, do not motivate many of us to aspire to create our own sketchbooks, transforming them into HD canvas painting compositions and masterpieces? How can your value truly be realized when you spend the majority of your time feeding into someone else's imagination? If these companies many of us work for aren't pushing us to be our best selves as the value machines we are, and are selfishly focused on their dream alone and their imagination, Why do we mistakenly put our trust in them and not in ourselves? Why are people taught to get good grades? This is not bad in itself, but if it is the main focus, then it can be. The only thing that really matters is what can you learn, apply to your business life. Memorizing things mostly that have little value in today's world, only to aspire to go to college and aspire to work in someone else's business, instead of being taught and motivated to aspire themselves as a business and allowing nothing else outside of that to be a means to an end. Why are we told that college degrees and trades are a sure way to get a good job? And what is a good job then? What was considered a good job 20 years ago may not apply today. And a good job to one man may not be good to the next. What may be a good job or a good work in one context may not be in another. Why don't they tell you that you can start a job from the time you're able to logically think about life and start considering your skill set? Your value is your job. You must do it well. Most people are severely unaware, as I was, of the variable of surfacing yourself in a job to an employer and the unknown and arbitrary value assigned and equated to that variable of if that employer values or needs or wants your servicing, otherwise known as a job, anymore. Therefore, tying yourself to that variable expression alone, which you do not know when and what value will be assigned to that unknown variable, thus making it an equation, is absolutely preposterous. This unknown variable is the make or break between your survival, if indeed it is the only variable in your survival equation. When you have a business and you are profiting, even if it is on the side of working somewhere at an employer in addition, gives your survival's variable expression more variables to consider when the equation is equated, i.e. your survival and your variables enabling that survival. This is why it's so important to create a business. You simply must have more variables in your life survival expression. There's no such thing as being unemployed. There is only not being compensated for your business. Even when you don't have a job, traditionally speaking, societally speaking, you are still a business. Your revenue is just flat. It isn't moving, much less spiking. You want to make sure your business is dynamic and agile, just as you should be, and it should be able to adapt. As I said, you are your business in every sense of the word. You should be able to adapt to anything that comes your way, as a lion does. Whether you're selling baby pacifiers at a discount to the neighborhood, at a $10 profit per sale, selling hair for profit and giving better, more personal customer service than that big box company in China with no personal service, or working in Silicon Valley backed by wealthy investors, producing software for businesses like your own. You are a salesman and a saleswoman. You sell things all the time without knowing it, such as selling yourself in whatever you do now, when you could apply that same work ethic and salesmanship or craft to your own thing. Every day should be treated like you're at work, except your off days. Don't believe the hype. No off days. Take at least one day to regenerate your energy and creative flow. I try it all the time and it works a charm for me. You don't want to start producing with slack, and burnout is very real. We live in a capitalist system in here in America. Now, I don't know if it's like that in your country, but even if it's not, it's better to imagine it is. Having the lion perspective awakened will help you in any society you live in. Even if it was in the woods, your perspective would definitely need to change. If you lived in the woods, would you live by a perspective someone gave you from the city? Or would you adapt for survival and the means to gain your advantages and strengths? As you can see, a perspective change is imperative. Many of us take advice from people who aren't giving the advice relative to our environment and circumstances. Taking advice from someone who is wealthy and speaking from their perspective and not down on your circumstantial level, if it does not apply to your circumstances, won't make much the difference. It's better to listen to someone who understands how many wealthy get wealthy and is at a circumstantial context where anyone can understand and relate to him. For example, you can take advice from Bill Gates or someone, and that advice is horribly not applicable to your situation. Just because someone has a lot of money doesn't mean they give 360 advice. When we have no money and we're on the brink of survival, our sensory traits should awaken. We often get too comfortable, I might say. The ones who are the most successful are the ones who think differently and do things others will not. They are willing to sacrifice today for tomorrow. I could go on and on about this, such as skipping the strip club with your guys or blowing off that meetup with that chick after work for your own work study. The truth is, most people expect an event to happen in their life. Something that falls out the sky, that falls from God without no type of work, some crazy just thing that just occurs without throwing the dice at the casino board. I have to break it to you. Life often doesn't reward slackness, laziness, procrastination, unwillingness to keep pushing. Instead, it rewards the fortunate and the resilient who never give up. Which part of the Sahara you're on is a mystery to me. But if you're anything like me, I was not born what someone called fortunate in the United States. I grew up lower to middle class. Now that depends what you call fortunate. In my eyes, one way of being fortunate would be receiving family heirlooms, family wealth, family business pass downs, rapport made with customers for your business from your elders, passed down from theirs, establishment by association, and things like these. In short, not starting from scratch. And also, like maybe bypassing all the gatekeeping. I can boast thankfully that I am fortunate that I am healthy, strong, and I am able-bodied, and I'm put together well with a great mind. In addition to growing up in a decent family, thank God. But like I said before, one man's fortune is another man's treasure. Yeah, you heard that right. Not the saying that one man's trash is another's treasure. I say unto you that one man's fortune is another man's gold. Remember what I said about the lion starting at the back of the pack, having more fight in him because he has to fight his way through the pack. You can see your lack of fortune in whatever context as leverage to fight harder than anyone who has been blessed to be fortunate. The truth is, they will not know the fight that you have been blessed with. And we know that no fight feels good. But in the end, we are stronger. One lion is born, fighting from the day of conception, and the other meets his fights later on. Who is likely to be the stronger lion? I vote the more versed one. In life, much like in art, perspective is very important in how we see and take in things. Much of us fail to realize that, like a paintbrush is maneuvered to visualize our imagination in front of us, we can maneuver our mind to see things in a new color. Nowadays, it's not hard to do a search on Google and find that college degrees or traditional education routes are not a means to an end as they used to be. Hey, I'm in no way bashing college, but I'm just saying count the cons and the pros. See if it really is right for you. College normally comes with massive amounts of debt, and your return on investment isn't usually sure if a job is your end goal or a stable career with low job security problems. This also depends on what field you're studying for. A doctor or nurse or lawyer in these mainstream professions may have higher success after graduating than, say, a computer science grad like myself. Often these days, skills, value, experience, and service speak louder than paper diplomas. The college higher schooling route from high school or just in general is not always the best case scenario one should take. If you have money to spend on it freely, or if you are betting that the field you are trying to enter will have a potential breakthrough or worth it in the degree or certification you're seeking, by all means go for it. There's nothing wrong with the traditional education, but what I'm saying is when dreams and expectations become crushed from an unexpected outcome of little difference between you and the next degree holder, it's time to get back to you, the business. The real education shouldn't be about grades. and memorizing. Education should be a part of your life on your own. This is how the real world works, and this is how it always used to be before the 12th grade system. The definition of education is the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, teaching, practice of learning and applying bodies of knowledge acquired while being educated in any given field, matter, or subject. Therefore, education does not need to exist in a formal setting either. It can be anywhere by the definition. So the degree or certification is just value on top of your business. It is not the business in itself. When I figured this out, that was a breakthrough for myself. I'd argue if you can accomplish, for example, art or computer science and become exceptional at them on your own, and putting that value into yourself without paying for college at amounts of $40,000 to $120,000, go for it. But that's just an example. That is what I have done and am doing. In fact, anything that you can work at on your own and then become exceptional at, and that is both either useful to yourself or to others, is valuable. Whether that value translates into money depends on what you have worked on and how you execute your business. Experience beats credential in many cases. Now, if you're going to be dealing with people's respiratory systems and cardiovascular conditions and checkups, go to school. That stuff isn't by case. And again, each path is not for everyone. Some people profit best and are most successful by being taught how to build the machine, and another by building the machine through blood, sweat, and tears, and of course, resilience and being resourceful. Know yourself and what you love doing best, and where you see your return on investment compounding the most. Just imagine if all of society was taught instead to think this way, instead of the mainstream pipeline indoctrination that is mediocrity. And yes, ma'am, Uncle Sam's, Sam I Am's. Okay, let's talk about illegal wealth versus legal wealth. We all know about the El Chapos and Pablo Escobars out there. They don't really work out. The police system and government are brighter than ever. And newsflash, illegal wealth usually does not last, and it comes with many sorrows. Is it worth 30 years in prison for trying to take shortcuts or worse, death? Hey, you are listening to a mostly honest man here. I have dealt in illegal activities in my life very much, like stealing things, being in the streets at one point in my life, marijuana, more and more. I found that this way of life, even if I was successful, it wouldn't be for too long. I couldn't pass something like this down to anybody, nor could I build a legacy or an empire or destiny or continue looking over my shoulder when I'm 50. LOL. Seriously, who wants to live like that? I mean, I look over my shoulder anyway, but what's the need for an added burden of making illegal business my business? Do I really want the police on my ass? Yeah, reality check. Shortcuts don't work in life. If you want meaningful wealth and lasting wealth, the best kind. There's a ton of ways to try to build wealth illegally, and most of them eventually lead one of two places: the grave or the prison cell. Remember, we live in an operating system. You can't really beat it unless you don't live in it. Legal wealth, on the other hand, while both are usually difficult to obtain and often to retain, legal wealth is the better option. It lasts longer, you can get some sleep at night, and you feel prouder of yourself seeing the honest work you've done and how you can positively impact others. Illegal wealth doesn't really provide societal value in the long run, and even if it provides short-term value for yourself, word to the wise. I won't go too in depth on this, but you get the point. In an operating system, either you're working against it, with it, or around it. But the fact that it is there, but regardless, the system is designed to work. What stance you take is on you and is your choice. What you spend most of your time doing will have a huge hand in what you're paid back Whatever you sow today, you shall reap tomorrow. If you spend all your time playing video games, drinking beer, Heineken, hanging out, whining about your lack of ideas, never getting started on them, letting things be an everlasting excuse instead of leveraging what you can, speaking negativity over your potential, you will not unleash your lion. You can surely reach your potential. Who said you have to wait until you're 60 to enjoy life? Who said you must work and save frugally without shifting your mindset until you save that $15,000 for your idea? Who said you couldn't get started right now? Who told you couldn't brainstorm and have brain ideas? Who told you that you just because your situation is bleak and difficult that you can't fight back? That you're defeated. When the ants of the field are attacked by construction workers, rainwater, natural disasters, people's feet stamping over their dwellings, do these little creatures, the ants, pack up and say, we're out of here, we're defeated? No. They unite their strengths. They instinctively plan and execute. They go around barriers and rebuild what was destroyed. They get back up, fighting their enemies with boldness, though they are small in size, yet large in magnitude. Do you remember when you were a child and you would imagine almost all the time? You wanted to create everything. You would say, Mommy, imagine if. Dad, what would things be like if? Imagine if, imagine if. Most of us, if not all, have been taught to just memorize things and accept everything as they are. When you were young, no one could put a barrier on your imagination and your ability to question things. Your mind ran wild, imagining things by the day, by the hour. As you get older, society has a knack of shutting this imagination off and this curiosity off, and also your creativity, to make you like everybody else, subconsciously and often indirectly telling you, hey, it's no use imagining anymore. You can't afford it. Who are you? It's already been done. Stick to your paycheck and shut up. Why bother imagining things that can't happen? Hey, nobody cares about your creativity. Stop imagining shit you can't do. Hey, no one cares. Society's fine without you. Just go work a job and quit trying. We don't care about your idea. Please, for the love of yourself, tell society to shut the fuck up. Rekindle your imaginations. Respark your creativity. End of chapter 3. Lion of the Savannah Perspective. Let your lion roar. Chapter 4. The Lion Perspective. The Lion of the Savannah Perspective. It is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog. Mark Twain. Even though the lion is challenged by his enemies, they know in their hearts he can rip them to pieces. Nico Lion. Yes, the lion perspective. It is a way of visualizing from different points of vision, sharpening your sight daily. The way of seeing yourself and the world around you in a new and regenerated ocular power. Before this was awakened, your eyes were dimmed, seeing only darkness with the sliver of light, your world being shrouded by the veil of society's way of thought, perception, and understanding. Now that your eyes are being opened, you can now see the sun's rays again. The ambient and storm-cluttered clouds over your life are being lifted as you fight back. From the time a lion is born till the end of his life, he has one main goal: survival, and if possible, to thrive. He knows he can take on much of his enemies, and he must always stay on his toes. Though a group of hyena or buffalo should rise against him, he will stand strong and gather himself for a retreat or for a fight to the death. I talked a bit about the lion perspective in earlier chapters, But now I go full spectrum upon the concept. I don't know how old you are, but the lion perspective applies to all ages after 5. Behold, you have just been reborn after getting this far in the book. As your parents guided you as a young cub, I am here to guide you as your alpha lion, the leader of the pack. I have wiped off the dirt and blood off your eyes society has placed there, thus now letting you see life through the lion perspective. Now, when you look at society, what do you see? Take a moment and gaze. Scan your horizon. Behold and see the elephants, the buffaloes, the tigers, the gazelle, the hyena, the birds that watch from on high, the snakes and vipers who hold deadly poison, and remember your place as the lion. The elephants are the big enemies of your life and difficult challenges, the opposition, the hardship. They could be whatever they are in any context, but let's assure that in a business sense, they are the huge corporations, the chain restaurants, the massive supercenters, the warehouse that uses AI, the corporations with massive resources at their fingertips, the corporations that outsource jobs that should be yours, the government, unjust law enforcement, the gatekeepers trying to tame and chain the lion in you from breaking the gate to pieces. The buffaloes are your biggest competition, and they are in your way. Sometimes, and sometimes they aren't, but you are aware of them. You smell their breath and hear their hoofs. You never cease strengthening yourself, for these buffalo are formidable opponents. They are also strong and are wise to their enemies also. They are a great opponent for the lion indeed, but they indeed also shall fall likewise. The tigers are the ones similar to you, competitors, but their roar is much quieter. You don't hear too much of them, but you know they still pack a powerful bite. And perhaps the loudness of their roar is for their advantage at times. So you reason to yourself. So you keep aware of their presence also. They are not as present, but they can show up in the wind's breeze. They are much like you, but they are not you. The gazelle are your prey. They are the money and currency, as well as business opportunities of your society. They are the quick and nimble creatures that can slip away if you're not hot on their toes, or waiting in the grassy plains, ready to pounce at them. They are the value points in different contexts of value, products, and services that you can gaze at, waiting for your moment to strike and tear it to bits, splitting it amongst the lions of your pack. These gazelle are always present, but they are well adept at hiding from you, or manipulating your mind to where you cannot perceive their presence. This is why your gaze must be sharp. You must not slumber nor waver. The moment to strike could be now. The hyena are the presences in your life that try to surround you and weary your power, your wherewithal, your fight and tenacity and resiliency. They are the depression, the feelings of defeat, the negative critics, the naysayers, the backstabbers, the betrayals, the setups, the slanderings, the hate, the lies, the devil, Satan and his demons, the hypocrites, the other businesses that make it their goal to gather themselves so you won't have a fighting chance, the forces that pray for your downfall and your potential to never awaken. They are that enemy that aims to reduce your chances of survival by joining forces against one. They are strong when together, but what is in you is stronger. They are the established corporations who put away mom and pop businesses on purpose. They are the corporate leaders that fire thousands with no remorse. They are the ones who make plans for a blueprint success while leaving out the blueprint builders. They are extremely crafty in their efforts. They are not as brave, not taking you on themselves, neither bringing it to your face. A lion is wise to beware of a hyena and its efforts. When you scan the horizon, You are more vigilant than when you look at your territory alone. Enemies may and likely exist outside of your territory. Be comfortable leaving your territory because your next meal may be in another, whether you have to take it or earn it. However, take heed by wise caution and awareness. Your horizon could be 1 mile from you, or it can be 30. Your eyes are keen, nevertheless, now that you understand. The birds are clever. They speak in a language known to them only, and they often do so unawares. They have a code where they will feast on grains and seeds together before the other little creatures can get to them, or feeding on those creatures themselves. Since the birds are in high places, they see what is going on in a perspective you cannot. They are the ones who see what goes on when you are sleeping. They sing to one another in beautiful notes, perching atop a branch, and they congregate atop an electrical line. They have their meetings and discuss their plans for the time at hand and for the future. Things usually are pretty well for the birds. After all, they can fly away from most danger. They grow wisdom quickly, and they make nests that are their dwellings that God provided them. They are taken care of by God. A wise man watches the birds and understands its survival methods and its ways. They are patient, clever, and they get along pretty well, and they can be united. They do not toil the earth, for the earth toils itself. The previous day's work works for the next day. God has provided an autonomous system for the birds and other animals to live in, and most do not toil, if so very little. The birds have a system like the ants do. They are on common understanding. A system is better than winging it. The birds have their business models, and their jobs are all performed very well. The government, higher authoritative officials, joint business ventures, and communities of wealth are a lot like this. They have a system that allows them to toil a lot less than the common man that they have looked down upon. They have automated business systems, investments, assets. Their money works for them. These various variables toil the earth for them. Not often must they peck after the seeds in which they have planted, some seeds recently and some seeds years ago, only to bear and reap fruit, and the birds can enjoy the grapes, the sunflower seeds, and the pieces of bread, and the berries of vibrant colors. The birds have understood building, stability, and preservation, as have the ants. Once their nests and seeds are established, often they need never to rebuild them again, except for minor tweaks. They have perfected their seeds and have allowed them to become stable, and thus preserving a home for their babies. All the birds must do is deliver the worms and berries, and teach their birdies to do the likewise. They have saw their mother doing these things as hatchlings, and they have seen that their mother provides warmth and care. The birds understand the principles of long-term growth and preservation and stability and wealth. The parties I mentioned before, such as the government and the wealthy family lineages and communities, the business partners, the business that has the lion perspective, and the authoritative bodies of your society have all understood these things. And lastly, there are the snakes and vipers. These are the ones who are out to slander you or your business. They will try to squeeze the breath, breaking the bones out of anything you are trying to do by all means, with all venom. We need to beware of these and be ready to claw them back at the mouth, closing their attempts back at them for every serpent. This is when you get up after being snuck up on and bitten, applying the antidote to your hands so that your work will live on. This is in essence taking the vaccine beforehand and preparing another vaccine for the potential snakes in the tall grass. Do not trust snakes and vipers. Keep your eyes ready for them. Every day, try to get into the habit of subconsciously listening to the environment. Tune your ears. Pay attention to things that can be improved or done more efficiently. Look for things that you can tackle within your current means, and also the things you can't, because perhaps you'll soon be able. The lion perspective says you must always look and scan your horizon for VPS, which is value, products, and services opportunity. Gazelle, that you can make yours. Difficult also to take away or render not useful or not valuable, needed or wanted. Perhaps you could impact somebody's life or many people's lives. Sizing up to the competition. Your mane is growing. It has reached down to your chest. Your muscles have enlarged. You're ready to attack whatever stands in your path if it deters you from a meal. As long as it isn't a cub, you will destroy it. It is raising yourself to the challenge, however many they are, and roaring back at them. Will you sit and cower and not even try to fight back? Your enemies will laugh and cackle like the hyena. They know you have it in you to sweat their faces like a fly. This is why they are trying to subdue you, weakening you, and to destroy you. You need to be gathering yourself together and any other lions that have loyalty worth, and even other lions you do not know. Be aware of them, for they can come in need. Gather your resources and prepare to fight back no matter how small. Start fighting back against the enemies. I don't mean violence in your environment and the world. There are enemies that want to keep you asleep so that you don't even try. But instead, you keep their feast full and their table set, and you're dependent on their providence. Lions don't depend on someone else to seize their meals. Whatever the competition is, healthy or unhealthy, or the enemy, people still will walk over you if you let them. They have the same muscles, ligaments, and brain you have. Whatever the disparity, you're stronger in one area that they aren't. No one can be almighty except God. You have heard that the bigger they are, the slower they are, and the smaller, the quicker. These big corporate establishments cannot execute on everything as quickly as you can. Their hands are tied with seemingly innumerable things: tasks, HR, meetings, making new ideas, operations, bills, finances, accounts receivable, etc. And they cannot impact every single market and be completely personable and give the attention you can in the way that you can. So even if they could, they'd be slow and not efficient enough to keep up with all the lions and their resiliency. Also, every company cannot infiltrate all markets with maximum efficiency. They would sacrifice efficiency for the sake of scale. This is why there are markets for everyone. No one can effectively and efficiently stronghold all markets in all areas in all ways. What I'm saying is if 100% of a business's efforts are on a given market, they can't also give 100% to another. So they may be able to give a lesser percentage. Yes, you can work in multiple markets in multiple areas, but your effort division and management must be taken into consideration for the retention of efficiency of execution. Find your niche markets where you'll derive your income and VPS from. Not only should you continue to seek where the market may need you, but also seek where it wants you. People need food. They can't just get that from the grocery store. So you got to find out what market isn't widely controlled like groceries and where you can be needed. It's not many groceries that can be set apart, at least not without a lot of investment initially. If the market you're seeking is widely controlled, then find access points you can control. You always want some form of not all control over your business or in your endeavors. Look also where people would want your VPS, your specific, unique VPS that only comes from you. You can impact markets these large and colossal establishments perhaps cannot see or cannot partake in because they have the same 24 hours you do, and also cannot give the personal attention and care that the size of their business prohibits them from doing. This is where they are weak. They can't interact on a personal level as much as you can. And human beings crave this. Imagine going to the mall and not being able to have barely any or no human interaction. You probably would be like, this sucks. Buy what you want or need and leave immediately. Or when you speak with customer service and you get AI, artificial intelligence, robots, impersonable, and not being able to interact with you on a human level, having consciousness, you'd probably start going to the business that can make you smile, right? Or at least feel valued and feel important, and at least make you feel human and not bore you to death for the sake of money or autonomy. Money isn't everything, but it is important. Most people are loyal to brands they feel personally connected to, and perhaps can feel involved in, or that they feel matches them and relates to them. Brands that exclude people, say they don't make their products for a certain group of people, or that fail in adapting to customers in the ever-changing world, that don't leave a stamp, an impression that people remember and will spread good word of, are usually forgotten or not bartered with, unless it is necessities for survival. You can be that brand that resonates, speaks to, grows, ages, and connects and becomes a staple among its people. If you do this right, people will bring their dollars to you. With the storm of online marketplace and word of mouth on social networks and other platforms, you can start a movement. These bland brands and unadaptable corporate keep their things one way establishments cannot or have not tried. It is one thing to be original, and it is another thing to be dynamically original. Being smaller in size is not always a negative. Look at the hawks that are able to kill deer. It is the execution that manifests the breakthrough and seizes your meal. Analyzing the market. You see the other creatures out there, large, small, great, strong, weak. Look at what aspects of each market you see can be manipulated, improved, assisted, even overtaken, and what markets you can infiltrate. Try to see markets that others don't, not just always the most obvious ones. Look outside the box. Think wisely about your options that others might not have noticed. Analyze the main markets of your society. Also analyzing the small and obscured markets no one notices. Perhaps when your senses are tuned, you'll begin to notice markets you have had no idea of before. If you're just starting out, analyze a market that you can get into. Try multiple markets and see if they're right for you. And don't let those voices tell you that you cannot. Looking at the aspects of various markets, you'll begin to notice what it is about them that keep the gazelles coming back, and what made and makes them work as markets. You will understand the why, the how, and what of every question you have about these markets. For example, there's an art market, a book market, grocery, restaurant, cooking, food, design, fashion, supplier, culture market, technology market, women's necessity market, man's necessity market, baby and children's necessity market, crafts market, services market, and you get the point. When you see money in this image, like me, if you hadn't viewed money in this way before as an abundant perspective, this would be a new perspective as it was for me. Get creative, identify, and focus on the market you see yourself succeeding in, and somewhere you'd love doing something that can profit, even if you have to learn new things or improve what you already know. Get into the habit of noticing the other lions out there who could use your prowess on a subject or on a principle, or in assisting them in one way or another. If we chase VPS instead of money, the gazelles will come. Where can you take your bite? After you analyze the markets, start noting where you can sink your jaw into the gazelles and zebras out there. Even if your bite isn't substantial at first, eventually, if you keep gnawing, you're bound to break down to the bone and crush your market in one area or another. Find your market niche, your specialty. You don't have to deliver a bite directly to the elephant's neck just yet. Perhaps you can bite at his legs first, weakening his hold on your terrain for meal acquisition. In other words, mark your bites for where they will puncture and reap meals for yourself. Where is the lion's roar in you? The lion perspective commands you to fight, to be competitive, strong, and strengthening, sharpening your claws and sharpening your fangs to take apart your meal more efficiently. It commands you to roar back. It commands you to walk with your head high, no matter your wealth status, no matter what you're going through. Bear the lion's confidence and resilient nature. Lion of the Savannah Perspective, let your lion roar. Chapter 6. The lion is in business for life. The lion has one main goal in his life: to survive, and if possible, to thrive. Nikolai. 1. Value. Value is prince in the grand scheme of things, and execution is king. Value is that part of life that gives something worth or usefulness. Value can manifest in many shapes and forms, and entrepreneurs are business people that are usually valuable because they contribute to society, aiming to provide VPS in one way or another. Without entrepreneurs and creatives, most inventions and creative creations and things we see around us wouldn't be here. Value is also what someone perceives. One person can perceive value to be a certain amount or of a certain quality, while to another the value is another. It can vary. We need value to be translatable to multiple people, and that is how our business succeeds. Are usually valuable because they contribute to society, aiming to provide VPS in one way or another. Without entrepreneurs and creatives, most inventions and creative creations and things we see around us wouldn't be here. Value is also what someone perceives. One person can perceive value to be a certain amount or of a certain quality, while to another the value is another. It can vary. We need value to be translatable to multiple people, and that is how our business succeeds. That value can be seen in a number of aspects and variables, such as your way with customers, how customers see your brand, your design on your products, your style of business, and many other ways. A dirty restaurant versus a clean one. Which one you think would have the most value to a sane person who wants to eat somewhere clean? This is how perceived value works. Someone perceived that that restaurant was dirty. But if you would have put a blinder over their eyes, they probably wouldn't be able to perceive that. So that's what perceiving is. Just because the restaurant isn't clean doesn't mean the food is bad. But this is what the customer perceives. Just because your customer service is great doesn't mean your products are good. Perceived value and actual value are very important. You want these two to be in marriage in your business. Your perceive, or what the perception is, needs to match the actual of what you're actually trying to get across to your customer. That will earn you loyal gazelle. Value is directly translated to how valuable a person, place, or thing is. When someone says this place isn't worth our money, we're out of here, they did not receive the value they may have perceived upon visitation. They don't feel like their visit is worth anything anymore. This is why value is prince, because something can be taught You can tell somebody's business value just off of what people have made it worth to be. And oftentimes, if those people are wrong, that business can be valuable in itself of its own worth. However, it does always come back to the end customer what they think. Your customer will always be right in that aspect. Even if you believe your business is worth a lot, it can be to you, but the customer still has to finalize that perception to be an actuality. It is often a make or breaker in the bartering world. When you're trying to provide value as a service or product, it'd be wise to put yourself in your customer's shoes. There are many ways to provide value. Run through your brain on what you can do, documenting where your next value, infiltration, and impact will be. What, when, and how. Keep your eyes and brain peeled for an opportunity. The gazelle are out there. 2. Products. Products are anything, whether physical or digital, that you can sell to other businesses and people. A product is still a product, whether you are Sony selling the newest PlayStation 5 to the world at massive scale, or whether you're a mom who has a job and is brainstorming products to sell to your potential audience and customer base to grow your business online, such as custom bandanas for bedtime that they only find through your shop. Don't let anyone tell you only big revenue companies are the only ones who can be successful at making money. A product is a product, period. Some products require more manufacturing, engineering, design, attention, and creation than other products. But you just have to figure out which products, if you're not established yet, to create or sell. If you are established and have built wealth, you have to still continue to figure out how to innovate your product base. You'll likely have more money to place in the creation and acquisition of your products, also paying attention to your customers and pay attention to your market for creating new or possibly improved ones. Everything we see around us are products. There's always room for some product that hasn't been improved yet, creatively innovated, and etc. Not many things are ever completed forever except maybe the universe. Even the fork is a product, and forks can be improved. We just haven't figured out how, or rather there isn't a need for it to be improved. I'm just trying to get you to see the point that products live all around us and they have lives, and they are either improved, innovated, or they remain the same because there isn't a need for anything done to it and its value remains the same. 3. Service. It is providing the lake for the other lions, assisting the packs out there with your expertise on a subject, satisfying a need, a usefulness in which you offer, and many more things. Service can be anything that serves your neighbor in one or another way, to their and your benefit, usually a mutual barter, service for compensation, or some benefit, or for goodness sake. You experience service every day when you breathe. God, Almighty God, provided you air so you could survive. He did this at no cost to you. How might you provide something to someone else or many people? What can you contribute as a service to make someone's life entertained, improved, educated, and many things like these? Perhaps you could serve people with new styles of clothing you design, or like how this book could be all 3 VPS and how I'm serving you. It could be valuable. It is a digital product, and it is a service to whoever reads it and references it. When you heard about this book, there was perceived value, and now that you're reading it, you see I am a man who aims to deliver actual value. I want to offer the most practical advice in this chapter. I'm not just here to inspire you, give you insight and wisdom. I'm here to show you how the lion performs his implementation. I at one point realized to produce a business, it would be both practical and logical to first do so within my means. Sometimes the best you can do is log your business and plan it now and execute it within your current means. Here a little, there a little, laying a brick every day. Also, it is wise to work at something that can be completed in the quickest amount of time with the most profitable return on your means of your current investment capability. That's if you want to make money sooner than later. It would not be logical to reach for something you cannot do presently if you're looking to find profit soon. Rather, you should work on something with the best ROI, return on investment, for your time presently, and then rise from that success. It wouldn't make sense to reach to compete with the highest revenue and resource retaining business as far as money goes and their potential. And your resources are such as you work out of a garage versus IBM or Apple, just as an example. But there's a way around this. The same people who buy from them are the same people capable of buying from you. This is just an example of when competitor businesses sell what you sell. It's just a matter of value skew, meaning how your VPS, your value products and services, or in other words, what you offer, skews higher or differently or uniquely or more creatively than theirs. A person creating phones out of garage could potentially win over a consumer if their VPS is higher than the consumer's first original choice of purchase. We do this every day when we choose to buy from Red Lobster versus Joe's Crab Shack or Apple versus Android. They're literally the same product almost, but we make such a split-second decision. We literally do this in everyday life. You do this without thinking about it, often like what type of woman do you prefer and why, or what man, regardless of your sexual preferences. You make choices. These sometimes logical, sometimes emotional. There's different ways you make that choice, but nevertheless, it's a choice. My point is you can move people to choose your VPS, ultimately choosing you. This is a universal principle. So the guy with no money versus the triple billionaire corporation. Money isn't always the winning chess piece, king me. It is the VPS, the presentation, and the entire experience. The guy who offers exceptional value to his customers versus the wealthy and resource-built organization with fake smiles and seemingly good value in a few places but are not valuing their customers enough. Despite the disparity in resources, who will likely win? The guy in many cases. Customers do not care whether you're that big corporation with an amazing reputation. If your VPS is not exceptional and meets and even exceeds their expectations, they will take their wallets elsewhere and also their interests. I don't care how big and famous your company is. You don't force people to shop with you because word of mouth will spread about your VPS. People prefer to shop with people, not robots who treat them like an anomaly, an expendable plastic bag. Few people don't care, but majority respect their dollar value and their hard-earned cash, not to mention their respect of themselves. Look within yourself and see what VPS you can strengthen, what skills you can sharpen, services you can provide as an alternative and improvement to the others out there. Scan your brain for VPS theories you could roll the dice on. It costs to start a business. I don't care what nobody say. How can something come from nothing? Whether it costs you some extra sleep or it costs you your comfort, it will cost you something. It's going to cost you something. It may cost you outnumbered nights of brainstorming. It will, frustration, failures, and all of these things. With my book and the ones mentioned, however, the authors and I have written these to make the burden lighter upon you. We talked about society usually pipelining children and even grown-ups into a servitude mindset and searing their inner entrepreneur that is a creative and productive mindset. Doing so with the often false promise of job security and comfortable position in a corporate company which can change in the blink of an eye. That college and certifications are a means to an end. Now, jobs by themselves are not bad. I've mentioned there are a few great ones, and loyalty still exists, however grim. But one can bypass this with a mindset bend, as we talked about in the previous chapter, and perhaps by being a producer and selling. creating their own value, services, and products to offer. At that point, money and the market are your only gatekeepers. The gazelle are out there waiting for you to notice and execute them. There is no law that forbids producing, creating. It's just about trying and giving it your best shot. With the lion perspective, anyone can be in business for life, realizing that your business is not dependent upon money and its dynamics. Your business is not entirely dependent upon your circumstances or what people have said you can't do, but it is rather dependent upon you. Do people extend their businesses into automated systems that exist apart from their time? Sure, but they still are the core business. The lion perspective says you must always be improving, growing, and adapting and educating yourself. All businesses must be needed and or wanted. All businesses must provide VPS. All companies, corporations, and people in general, all of humanity uses at least one phase of the VPS principle. They may use all or multiple phases of it also. And when you understand life in the VPS principle mindset, you look at everything differently. Most businesses use a combination of the VPS principle. Every bartering transaction operates under this principle. People of old understood VPS. The blacksmith that forges the weaponry and armor, the horse carrier to take you from one land to the next, the jester, the joker to throw jokes at the king, to make him laugh from his wars, the woman who would offer her knowledge of sewing, color dye, crafting garments by the work of her hands, the barter area of town, the fish catcher and the fish scaler and the cleaner, the soldier who gives his dagger to his partner in exchange for his arrows. There was a bartering center, a common market, where people exchanged VPS. Today, that bartering center is all over, or rather you have to open your eyes more to find it, because it has grown so large in different areas. There were as many producers as there were consumers. Nowadays, big producing establishments are eating up most of the gazelle and hogging production, and the result is more consumers than producers. And if we wake up to this fact, we can start attempting to produce and find our own VPS, at least in niche areas, where we can thrive instead of existing as a consumer alone, and lessen the gap. Producing is how the smiths, the merchants, and the bartenders and the barterers of old made their livings. So why shouldn't we produce? Production was not hogged by the Walmarts, by the Googles, and the Apples. Not that they're intentionally hogging it, though they might be. And this is just an example. And etc. I hope you get the point. For example, imagine if for every house on a block, 3 people in that house were producing high quality phones. VPS has always existed as long as humanity. You should ever be scanning for VPS opportunity. Even something as simple as some amazingly comfortable gloves you sell for a discount, or that are creatively, uniquely made, yet high quality, a book about something, explaining why and how it could be done better, improving the way someone or a business was doing something before, or even an everyday task that could use a book written on it. Or maybe you have a great story and you're waiting to be written. Don't be surprised that humans love stories, especially ones that they can connect to. Or perhaps you have a drawing skill like me. You could use that for many things, like creating a new hit character that everyone is interested in, getting people interested in you also. You just have to keep rolling the dice to see what you can do. Most big guy corporations and abusive employers don't want you to read books like these. Many, not all of them, would prefer less competition so they can have all the gazelles. As far as funding your business, when you understand the lion perspective, you'll laugh at your previous notions of accepting funding from investors, who some of them really don't care if your business sinks, but only if it swims. Be honest. Do you want people who throw a bad spirit into your business by their money? And also the fact that when you do things this way, you end up kissing the asses and pleasing the G-spots of men and women called shareholders and stakeholders that you really have no business dealing with, instead of pleasing the people you interact with, your precious customers. When your line perspective is constantly active, you will make your own funding through your VPS mindset. Even if you start small, it is better to have honest and empathetic money in your resource storehouse you have earned or were supported with than having tainted money from people who could give two shits about you or your business at the end of the day. The majority only care about the ROI for themselves. You don't need funding for most businesses. You need VPS. If you do this part right, your business will begin funding itself, and people and the true investors will flock to you. The gazelles will be running wild, and you have your claws ready to seize them continuously. Now, I want to talk about an acronym from the best-selling author M.J. DeMarco. This is from the book I mentioned earlier, The Millionaire Fastlane, which really helped me put things in perspective. Before I read his books, I was already an entrepreneur. I stumbled upon his books in my endless researching habit for resources on my journey. But he also helped tune my lines perspective. My ears cocked back, listening to his points on many things. After reading his 2 books, I realized there were things like the implementation of achieving the goal of successful entrepreneurship were not as clear as they could be. After reading many reviews, I see that people were looking for something more applicable. I believe his books are exceptional in their own right, being informative, insightful, and motivational. The one thing I feel they were missing, however, and people yearn for, was an applicability to his entrepreneur framework. While indeed there is no magical technique, I make it my aim, not only for myself, but for my audience, to find applicability in the clearest of comprehension in this book. What his books were missing was the lion perspective. I'm writing this also because with all of these books, including mine, I have mentioned an entrepreneur is set to shoot his dice at this goal I call painting your own canvas. I take nothing negative from his books, aside from a bit of rambling. They should be in an entrepreneur's resource storehouse. They should be in the entrepreneur's resource storehouse. That acronym is the Sense Commandments. It is an acronym mainly used for explosive income achievement and for sustaining that revenue and control over it, rather than the control being in someone else's hands and you end up painting their canvas unexpectedly, or because you decided to please shareholders, you build their vision and bend down to their feet, and about managing your business with the most amount of time, still free for yourself and other things, or the business being unprepared by not in some way following this acronym, Sense Commandments. It can also be used practically for the lowest level of producing, if it'll work. It's basically that a business makes sense. The truth is sometimes a business won't make sense, and it doesn't have to be successful. It could be crazy, but this is a principle to take half literally, I say. I will mention this briefly. So the commandment of control. This basically says whatever business idea you're working on or working in, the optimal condition for you in sustaining a monthly to yearly revenue that establishes you and even thrives you, and that can't be shut down by third parties and snakes and vipers, is that you have nearly full, if not full, control of all aspects of the business. In other words, for example, if you're an internet company, you don't want your money coming from Google AdSense or from solely producing YouTube videos. And God forbid YouTube shuts down. You can employ a principle called vertical integration, where most aspects of your business are made from within. You don't want your cash flow being derivative or depending on another business in the context where that business can negatively impact your business by a decree or some random arbitrary decision. You want as much control over your business as is possible. That is the commandment of control. You don't want someone else kinging over your castle. Next, the commandment of entry, E. You want to make sure that whatever business you're doing, you can enter that market, or if you have to, break through into it. Even drug dealers have a market in their hood, and they are businesses, albeit illegal. The point is how difficult or how easy is the market you're trying to enter. And the easier it is, usually the more overpopulated and unsuccessful it is. But this isn't in stone. And the more difficult it is, usually you are bound to have higher chances of success in that endeavor, because most people don't want to enter difficult markets and difficult business ventures. Most people prefer easy overnight success. And as MJ DeMarco says, they favor the prize over the process. The commandment of need. You have heard people say, OMG, I need this in my life, or that, OMG, if such and such will create this product, I need it. Me and my family, or hey, I need better video games. That restaurant needs better toilets, better waiters, better cooks, hosts, better this, better that. Hey, do you know what TV needs? It needs to bring back the classic shows we loved growing up. Why don't those come on anymore? These shows now suck. The point being, is there a need for you? Is there a need for your VPS, your creativity, your opinions, your this, your that? Does the market and do people need even 0.1% of you? If they do, and they do, you are in business. You just have to awaken whatever VPS you can give and deliver, executing it exceptionally, fulfilling whatever needs you can. For example, there's need for better comic book stories these days and diverse art styles instead of repeating the same stuff over and over. If you tune your ears to hear needs and wants, you'll be surprised how many you find. The commandment of time. This is the commandment that most people want to achieve because it entails lessening your business little by little from your time until it exists nearly completely apart from any of your time. Time is precious, and we were all born with the same 24 hours a day, 65 days a year. We see this commandment taking place in billionaires hiring workers to do the tasks they once did, or implementing AI to do the things they once did. Restaurants that used to be one location only that operated out of one system, now having chains or franchises. Corporations hiring people to do the smaller yet still important tasks because they have had to move on to the larger tasks. Yet all of this is reducing the participation of their time from the amount of time they once spent in many cases. And so this commandment also means having a business, product, or service exist, yet accumulating cash flow, income, revenue apart or halfway apart from your time, which is most people's goal. An internet business is a great way to release yourself from some of your business's time, occupancy in your life. The commandment of scale. This commandment of scale basically exists in nearly all businesses, and scale exists within individuals and teams as well. A product or service can scale depending on how many people it affects, the reach that it has, and how many units are sold, or how many sales are made, or users use your service, or readers read your content, or players play your games, or viewers, etc. Individuals and teams scale because they are a business. The worth monetarily and intrinsically and also extrinsically are the scale of people. Any business, value, product, or service that has the potential to explode and impact thousands and millions can make you both extremely wealthy and extremely valuable. As MJ DeMarco said, impact one person first, and you have the potential to impact millions. Also, it is worth mentioning his chess analogy relative to business. It's called the fast lane chess approach. So I just wanted to note that. The first one is king, and then it's execution. Queen, and you got hustling, advertising, word of mouth, marketing, negotiating, copywriting, branding, selling techniques, breaking above the noise and all the noise that is blocking you from being seen or heard and stand out. Then you got pawns, ideas. Your prince is your value. Here are formulas. Oh, I added that one. That's not MJ DeMarco's. I added that to it because his approach was so great. I just had to add my part to it. Here are formulas you need to be thinking in for value and the Prince chess piece. If you want explosive income increase, steady growth is great also. Sometimes that leads into the VPS you discover that becomes explosive. We live in a highly math-oriented world, and this is how the real world works. Should have paid more attention in math class, LOL. Just kidding. It's never too late up on your math. These companies like Sony, PlayStation, and nearly all massively successful companies understand these formulas. And this is why they can keep re-releasing the PlayStation, the Xbox, or Jordans, because they are products that have caught on. See Contagious, the book I mentioned by Jonah Berger. They perform tweaks on them. They release new versions of the same product, but they are still the same products in essence half the time. The same with vehicles. They are upgraded and people buy the 2019 version from the 2010 when they're still getting from point A to B, when the heater still heats the same way. Look at the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 12 now. Amazing, right? That's VPS for you. I could have sworn we were still on iPhone 8. VPS that snags the gazelles will keep them coming, especially when you're sincere and have exceptional production, integrity, customer service, and strong customer retention practices and things that attract people to your brand. The reason why 99% of businesses that have customers have sales goals and engage in the art of selling is because the sales ceiling has potentially no container. But a fixed equation, such as when you're an employee and the variables are constant for your paycheck, there isn't much possible growth there half the time for most scenarios. This is why everyone should be aiming to selling VPS or whatever endeavor that is of value for that individual. Chapter 7. The eyes and gaze must be sharpened, that the lion may seize his meals. Nico Lion. Okay, my lion is awake. Now how do I apply this? In this world, you often have to build your own foundation and forge your own path. You may desire a lifestyle that only your own path will be able to create. Now, after getting this far in this book, hopefully you've been awakened in your lion within you. When I realized a few things, I started to apply myself every single day and night. Literally. Keep the lion perspective in mind and remember to apply what you've understood. There is no magical trick, but there is process that leads to results. First, get into the habit of documenting your useful thoughts and your brainstorms. Write down useful information. Take notes, mental and tangible, digital. Get organized. Become diligent. Compile relative bits of information together so you don't lose track when you gain momentum, or if things hit the fan and you are unable to retain your things, or your things are misplaced. You have backed it up already. When you're starting and even throughout, you will have to try multiple things. It's not always that the first thing you go with, you end with. You'll likely be tweaking and adjusting for your whole entrepreneurial and or business life. Sow multiple seeds. Try to reach for some golden eggs and try not to put all your meat in one freezer. You just have to be right once also. Your first massive enough success can be all you need to set up your other passions, your other your other endeavors, building your foundation, and make them VPS. Tell yourself that you will accomplish success, even if it isn't the margin you expected. Keep trying. Chapter 8. So how do the rich get richer and the poor stay poor? How can you get where you want to be? You have heard the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This is true in a sense, but it's not set in stone. This is largely because very few people ever really make the mindset bend they need to. The truth is, if everybody thought this way with the lion perspective, do you know how much more diverse and creative, impactful, potentially, society could be? If everyone shot their dice at their inner value and didn't bury it for a paycheck or for some other reason, what exactly could they amount to? What could they be? Also, these rich and powerful corporations and individuals, many of them willingly make it their effort to stronghold a vast market share from individuals and other businesses. They could just be satisfied with the generous market share they often get, but no, they become filled with greed and they want more and more, even if it means knocking off other businesses and their market shares. There's nothing wrong with being rich or having a large market share, but when you love money more than people, and when you're willing to step on other people and their businesses without a second thought, and when you're exceedingly greedy and gluttonous, then it becomes a problem. If you are not one of my audience that is not successful yet, nor are you wealthy, then I say this to you, that it is time that we divide these market shares the hell up wherever we can. It is time for the smaller businesses, the underdogs, the people that are forsaken, the people that was underlooked, the people that was belittled, the people that was never given a true chance. To seize their meals, to seize their gazelles. It is time for the smaller businesses and people who have just started to seize their gazelles. If you're one of my audience who have trouble accessing loans from useless banks and funding, much like I have, then I'm telling you that you need to create your own by way of income, by selling VPS, selling something, leveraging something to get more. The big companies do the same thing, just on a higher scale, and most of them get funded. The rich also know many things and usually have necessary resources to get richer and maintain their wealth, while the poor do not usually. If you focus on applying the things in this book and the books I've mentioned and making it your passion, I have no doubt that both you and I will achieve our goals and get where we want to be. The way I fight back is with the techniques and understandings and perspectives in this book. It is really yours and my best shot if you're one of the people in my audience who are not wealthy yet. This book especially applies to you. The more people that take this book and the ones mentioned into action, the higher the probability for many people to explode their income or at least increase it. And many people will start focusing on their VPS and improvement of themselves. Ultimately, the goal is to obtain the gazelles and graze in wide open field and pasture, without bills being the dark cloud, and Uncle Sam and the guys over at Wall Street or the elite raining your parade by eating all the gazelles or blocking them off from you ever even getting a chance to attack them. When people start looking to a more diverse set of people for VPS, creativity, uniqueness, and personal attention, instead of only at the big companies that are often too busy to pay them the personal mind they desire, or give them the things only you offer in the manner and style that they are too big and weighed down to offer, or simply don't have the means or desire to, we will see the change of dynamic marketplaces, businesses, and individuals the world needs to see. Chapter 9. The Savannah's Nico Lion. This chapter will be mostly about me, the author of this book. I chose to include this so that my audience would know at least a little about me. My name is Shamari, but I also go by Nico Lion. My company and brand enterprise, and also the headquarters of nearly everything professional I do, is Zayanaya. I created this company in January of 2018. I simply created it because I realized that brands are everything, and I saw that simply working a job was not going to cut it for me. I wanted to create, invent, and innovate. I wanted to create a lifestyle that I desired for myself, that I knew my chances of getting by working a regular job was not the best chance. I also grew tired of the way I was getting treated at my jobs. No matter how good of a work I put in at these jobs, it never meant I would be stable or that my work actually meant or would be something. I wanted to do meaningful work that I could be proud of. I also saw that if I wanted to meet my financial goals, I'd have to do more than the average person and even more than my average self, or rather than my effort I was initially putting in. And so it made properly sense to create a business. I would embody this business myself. So I put in all the necessary work, like research, planning, learning, practicing, refining, and more. I had to start disciplining myself and doing things I didn't feel like doing often. I was going to school for computer science, but I realized that it would simply cost a fortune to attend the university, so I did not continue to attend. I then began to teach and refine my creative skills and business skills, which are my strong points, which with my technical skills being on my weaker side. So after a while, you can imagine all of this spiraled in my head and I got frustrated very much. I said after much reasoning and frustration, well, if no one is going to hire me, then I will hire myself. So I did. There was the birth of Zioniah. I figured I might as well and stop wasting time trying to go work in someone's company and work on myself. Hiring myself was the most productive and beneficial decision, albeit a difficult one, that I ever made for my life. When I changed the motivation from aspiring to work for someone and instead to aspiring to work for and with myself, everything changed. All of those rejections can leave a person feeling defeated. And that, am I good enough? Yes, I am good enough. I myself just had to see that. I didn't need people from all around me giving me the opinions of whether I was good enough or comparing me with others, because I really all along was good enough all along. I didn't need some HR manager telling me I was good enough or that I was capable or I met the bill. I knew myself that I was capable. Their decisions didn't matter anymore. And creating a business is one of the most exhilarating things and also one of the most challenging you would ever do in this life. But you will thank yourself for it when you profit, trust me. And even just for the experience of trying, so you can say, at least I gave it my best shot. And if not, I laid my sword down trying. The margins you have the potential of hitting for profit versus when you're solely working for someone are so vastly in contrast. It is not even funny. And when you make your first sale, it is truly exhilarating indeed. When you learn that someone benefited from your work or you made somebody's life change, it makes you smile inside and outside, or at least it should. A little briefing about Zioniah so you know who we are. We are a creative company at the core. That is what we stand for, creativity. We are a company that is interested in different markets. We are very big in technology and art and anything creative. I, for one, am the chief technology person and the chief artist and creative director. We are mostly involved in the art market and design market, and we have various brands and products being thought on and planned, but we have plans to go into more markets and inject our creative powers into them. We have the ability and are looking to get into many markets. The ones that we do get into, we want to get into exceptionally. We only want exceptional work and creative, innovative work. We are not an everything company, but we do many things. We even have a plan to get into the fashion market. So as you can see, I wear many hats, and I am the founder and more. Sometimes you will start a business and be everything, and you will be the very breath of it until more people share your vision and want to tag along and fight your cause with you. Or perhaps pairing up with your business as a partner or employee. But beware of partners and employees, for everybody is not. Never mind. Scratch that part out. I am the only one in this company currently. It is at seedling stage. It has sprouted a few leaves already. Do you see what a little watering? Do you see what a little watering and sunlight does to a seed? I am an artist, a self-taught aspiring computer scientist, athlete. I study some martial arts. I am an author. I am a chief executive. I am a musician and song artist. I am many more things also. Did I know I was going to wear this many hats when I was 18? Of course not. Life has these strange ways of revealing your purposes to you. Sometimes that original path we walk when we get out of school is not the path we'll walk in adulthood. For example, growing up, I thought I was just supposed to get a job and everything would be great, but I had no idea how expensive modern society could be, as well as how unsecure many jobs can be. When I got a notice of how expensive it is, and I got a reality check, I realized productivity is a must, and it is always. Slackness is not acceptable. I had my share of hanging with friends, doing things I won't mention in this book, smoking weed, drinking at parties, and more things like that. And while all of that is cool at times, life is more serious than having fun all the time. There's a time and place for everything, and there's a season and a reason for everything. All people in this world were meant to do some form of business or some type of endeavor that's personal to them, separate from another entity. You just gotta find what clicks your brain on and will make a living for yourself and the cubs in your den. Chapter 10. Create. The man who can see what he believes, what others believe is not possible, can achieve anything, because he believed what seemed impossible and gave it his best efforts. Nico Lyon. Create. In today's world, we are able to create many things. We don't have to wait for the okay almost. We can go ahead and create it. We just need the resources. What will you create? How will you mark your impact in this world? The good thing is you can get started now. Believe in yourself, even if no one else does. Say, forget what they're saying. I'm saying this. You are a mental architect. Tap into your mind's power to see and believe. You can build images in your mind of what you want to achieve. To sum it up in a sentence, we can say that this is brainstorming, but with a visually mental representation. You can create images in your mind of the things that don't exist yet and of things that do exist that can be improved. Have you ever tried using your mind to create things visually in your mind's eye? Try this with your eyes closed one day. You can create anything. Now, whether or not it is able to become tangible is the challenge and also the fun. Our minds are incredibly sophisticated in that we can form substances and things that do not exist yet, and we can nearly see them perfectly in our mind before they are in physical manifestation. This is one trait we share with God, the Almighty Creator. We have many tools at our disposal today. Which will you use? We have the God-given ability to achieve by faith what we imagine. We can cause things to exist before anyone else ever sees them. We can cause things to exist. Therefore, it makes sense that if we strive to think big, think positive, and think optimistically, the law of achievement must grant you access to success. You are thinking on a scale so big that the universe must honor your imagination. The devil will try all he can to stop you, or the one that they call evil. But if God be with you, who can be against you? The fact that there is finite power on earth mandates that there is an infinite and intelligent conscious power out there somewhere, because someone had to give the law of something to be finite would have first had to come from something that was infinite. It only scientifically makes sense, just like there is positive and negative. If everything in this planet is finite, then by the law of the universe, there must be a power out there that is infinite, or else nothing could exist in the way it does. Chapter 11. The Worldwide Market. Gaze at your opportunities. Nico Lyon. You have heard of the World Wide Web. What about the worldwide market? I bet you no one has ever described it to you like that, have they? Well, let me be the first, because when the idea came to me, I was the first to reveal it to myself. Since the advent of the web, the internet, we now have a digitally worldwide marketplace. You also don't have to have permission to sell online. You can just do it. When you think about it, this is basically what e-commerce is. But many people never really realize it is worldwide. Your brand and business has the potential to reach people you may never meet physically. People from other countries can support your work and your brand all because of the worldwide market. So what I'm saying is the internet market opens up the opportunity for anyone to try to create a business and sell VPS. Please take advantage of this. I can't tell you what business to start or what endeavors to pursue, but this has to come from yourself. Hopefully, I've given you some ideas. It was my goal in this book to give you the lion perspective, point you to other sources that are credible and will help you, show you that achieving high revenue and income and profitability and changing your whole life and that of your family and whoever you care for and that of your concerns is highly possible apart from a salary or job. Not that there's anything wrong with those things. To show you also how many of the systems around the world are broken and need innovation in tomorrow's world, and we need individuals who are innovative and who are creative as well, and who are bold and courageous, and prepare you to follow my footsteps if you indeed are one of my audience who is not largely successful yet. And if you are, I hope I've given you my unique perspective, which I believe can be useful for anyone. Thank you for reading Lion of the Savannah Perspective, and I appreciate your time. We will be having a second part coming out for this book called Lion of the Savannah Perspective, Chapter 2. And updates on that will be coming shortly. Take care now, for now. Peace. Stay with the lion perspective and keep your gaze sharp.